So Marshall, when I'm working with people or doing groups, we're working with consciousness. Another way of expressing this is we're working with awakening. And awakening being waking up out of the stories that people live from all day long. Their thoughts about their situations that oftentimes cause so much suffering that can be optional. These interpretations of what's going on are optional. But we have to become aware enough to notice that we're having these thoughts about our situation that cause us to react to things rather than to be able to respond consciously, clearly to what is going on in our world. A lot of it has to do with letting go of so much of the programming that we have gotten in our lives, the conditioning, the things that we were taught, indoctrinated into through growing up with our families, how we're trained in school, how the culture at large impacts us, influences us to believe certain things about life. And we take these beliefs on as part of our identity, which becomes the central thing from which we approach everything. I often express that awakening is a subtractive process. It's the releasing of these beliefs that we are living from and waking up into this clear world that we have the opportunity to see and to play in and to work hard in and to engage in and to create in. So what the heck does any of that have to do with your path and your work in the world?
Great question to begin with. Well, I early in my life, when I was 19, had a spontaneous awakening experience which made me aware that there was something bigger going on. What that something bigger is, or at the time was, and my understanding was not clear at all, Yet I knew from that experience that there's just something bigger. So what does that mean, something bigger? Something bigger than what? Well, it's become more clear to me that it's something bigger than what you were just talking about, our identity of who we are. The things that we believe by the exposure we have in the ways that you've mentioned, as well as the perceptions we have about ourselves and our relationship to life and to the universe as a whole. Becoming aware that there's a relationship that's bigger than our identity of who we think we are and what we make of our engagement with life. As you said, the exploration of awareness of oneself, with awareness being one of the key words here, because there's consciousness, there's awakening, there's enlightenment. Somewhere in all of that is awareness. And so having an awareness of oneself and also an awareness of something, that which is beyond oneself, not separate from oneself, and that's an important piece we can thread into in our conversation. And yet, the key is, I found, is that in my life's path and the various projects and organizations I've been involved with, ultimately it all comes into this relationship of what is our perception of ourself and reality and the nature of the universe, in some cases in the physics and in other ways in just the conscious awareness of it. What is the consciousness that we're engaged with and how are we relating to it all? So it definitely threads in throughout the whole of my journey.
So with this awareness, how does that impact one's life? I mean, because we're talking in what we might call coded language, right? We know what we're talking about. So, what's the relevance to real life for people having this awareness?
Well, gosh, I would say that can take so many forms and paths. It may be not a single answer to that question. You know, the relevance is unique to each of us, really, and because our life's journeys are all unique in the ways in which life brings us what we are inviting in for our growth and our expansion of our awareness. And I think for maybe in terms of the relevance of the path of awakening in our daily lives is actually getting a relationship of awareness inside ourselves where we can start to catch those things that are what trip us up or what give us joy, you know, what bring us the bliss that we can feel in our lives. You know, both really. It's, you know, being able to see that relationship between that which makes us tumble and fall, which is a great way to grow as well. And the more that we awake, the greater those tumbles and falls become.
Yeah. So,
and also the joy and the bliss of accessing that wonderful greater aspect of our being.